Hello and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss current affairs and Gazette for today, that is 9th of February 2022. Before we begin this discussion, let me quickly welcome all of you participants. Thank you for participating in answer writing here. Netra, Sam, Hima, Babani, Kriti, Teja, welcome to you. Welcome to you all. Ashish, Ravi, and we have Vakram. Good evening. Welcome back. Hi, Nitish. Thank you for participation. Great to see you. Tiasha, good that you have started this activity. Very good. So welcome back. Also seeing a couple of discussions here. One of them is on the cricket match. I am completely not updated about it, especially this one. And the other one is on the central bank digital currency, digital currencies and cryptocurrencies. We will understand each of them. What is the distinction? How is the mining done? And what is the differentiation between a digital currency, the cryptocurrencies and other type of currencies available online. All right, that is on the feature news today. We will discuss all these points there. Meanwhile, we will get going with the discussion on the current affairs today. Right, before that, a quick update. Yes, the number of Ramsar sites in India are 49. Thank you, Amlan, for this description. We do make mistakes at times, and thank you for pointing this out. What does your daily guide to UPSC current affair have today? Today we have three updates. One on the freedom of religion and attire, a descriptive, fairly objective analysis of the kind of debate that is happening around the world, around our country, especially here. So not only the attire, but also what is the choice of food, what is the place of worship, all those could be discussed here. We will understand this in totality and no arguments. We will understand fairly, objectively, the perspectives from both the sides. The second one is on regulation of internet content. So we have been looking at how the government has been directly, indirectly trying to control the media, sometimes for the right purposes, sometimes criticized. So we will understand how the government is regulating the internet content this time. Vande Bharat trains and news, right? It was in news a few days back because of the budget. We will understand these kind of trains, right? Distributed energy trains. This day in history dedicated to the British control, which was given back to the Britishers after the war with Siraj-ud-Daulah. The year was 1757. Feature news for today is on digital currency. Important. You've been demanding what this is about. We will explain this completely today. Image of the day on Lata Mangeshkar. Terms and concepts. The four terms that we have are port, connectivity, roads. The second one is Chauri Chaura incident, 100 years of this incident. The third one is community forest. We will know why news. And the fourth one is PARAKH portal. The three editorials that we have, one of them is on the crisis in the West. The second one is on opinion polls and exit polls. And the third one is on agricultural spending in India, right? AOI, Agricultural Orientation Index, a keyword here to be discussed. And today's case study is on a young person who has vouched to eliminate the plastic pollution, menace of plastic pollution from the face of oceans. So let's begin this conversation. Hi Pooja, Teja, welcome. Mohit, good evening to you. Mohit, we expect you to start writing just like all others. Put some effort here. Some effort and then it will become a matter of habit and then it will eventually lead you to become better at analyzing the current affairs or any question for that matter. This first snapshot, the first one, this was the complex question I was speaking of. The fairly simple question is the central bank digital currency and the digital currencies. But the complex question is the freedom of religion and attire, right? What is the choice that one should pursue while wearing clothes when they go out in public space or in private space? Is it something that is derived only by the state's prerogative or direction given by the state in public spaces or in private spaces, or it can be driven by one's own choices as well, right? So this is an important question, and we might get caught up in answering questions because we might have our own prejudices, our own inclinations because of our culture. But this is something to be avoided at the core. We will go by what the constitution says. We will go by the judgments of supreme courts or respective high courts, right? And these are the grounds for ourselves to interpret, because the prime thing is that the Supreme Court is the protector of the constitution. See, if this is the polity or the complete Indian state, there are organs of the government. There is one government, there is one parliament or legislature, union and state, and there is one judiciary. There is also a media. There are also people. There are civil society organizations, CSOs, right? NGOs are also a part of it. So many of them. And the court, the justice organization, this is the one which actually is the underlying organization that protects the constitution. One of its main agenda is to protect the constitution. Their interpretation of what is the basic structure to constitution is utmost important. We will also follow the principles of preamble, right? So we will stick to these basics if a question like this is asked. But for awareness sake, let us discuss about what has been happening and what is the question in light. Now, this happened in Karnataka. In Udupi district in Karnataka, the issue highlighted was that that right here, this is one of the districts in southern Karnataka on the west side, right, just around Mangaluru. This is the place where the issue happened, where some of the students, female students entering the institution of their pre-college, they were not allowed to enter because the government had passed an order stating some code, some dress code in the schools, in the colleges. So they were not allowed to enter, and because of this, their exams were also scheduled for after a couple of months, and their entering was a necessity for their education. On the other hand, since there was a government order, there were groups formed, and then they started to oppose the entry of some students. And this issue has become so huge that the schools here in Karnataka have had to be closed for 3 days now, so that the judgment is passed by the High Court, and whatever the judgment is passed, people will have to respect it. Right now, political groups are moving away from any affiliation, but then these kind of opposition or supporting cannot happen without the association of political groups. So let us understand not this politicization of issue. I will explain for your contentment, I will explain that as well, but let us understand the core issue here, right? Now, first thing is some fact about the kind of headgears. There are multiple kind of headgears that people wear. Turban is a headgear, and then we have many people wearing the Himachali cap, right? The Prime Minister himself was wearing a headgear that was a Gurkha cap on the 26th of January parade day, right? Similarly, there are other kind of headgears that the people wear, right? So hijab is something that is commonly heard of, right? Hijab is the one which is just a headgear. It is put around the head, right? Then we have chadar, only the face is visible here. Niqab is the one in which where only eyes are visible, and burqa is the one where the whole body is covered, right? And a part of this, it is said that is a part of Islamic practices in various countries, various places. Is it a matter of choice of the person who is wearing it, or has it been imposed on them? This is another question, because from this choice emanates the Article 19. This choice, this is the freedom which has been granted to every person to wear what they want, and yes, reasonable restriction is there on this, so that there is morality, there is public morality in public space. So the point being here that if a person can wear a hijab in the open space, what is the kind of disorder or immorality that happens in a schooling institution? Cannot they wear it right inside the schooling institution? Yes, they can. So this is the kind of question that has been raised by the people who are defending these rights. If it was a choice by the person, let us allow them to wear under Article 19. It is their right to wear the way they want to wear their clothes. Yes, if it has been imposed on them, then it is a matter of it is an individual matter, and it must be dealt then, right? Another question that could be raised is the Uniform Civil Code. But right now that has not been raised. No, Uniform Civil Code has not been raised. Once it is raised, it will be dealt with, and then all the matters of personal symbols, they will be questioned. Wearing a kada will be questioned. Wearing a locket will be questioned. Wearing tabiz or wearing a ring in the open space, all that might be questioned. So that is not the question here. The question is the government order on wearing hijabs and the opposition of it by the people. So let us understand what the constitution has to say on this, right? I have picked it up, right? Look at this, Article 25(1). Article 25, one of the Constitution, guarantees the freedom of conscience. It is the right of freedom of religion, right? So people can practice freedom of religion in India, and this freedom of religion is different from the one which is guaranteed by European countries. What is the difference? Here there is a certain degree of association between state and religion. The state will try to promote the religion or individuals' own beliefs, whatever they pursue and follow. Is it correct? Am I correct? Whereas on the other hand, if we have European countries, country like France, no person is allowed to go out wearing their personal signs or religious symbols in a public domain. So when they enter a public space, for example, a court complex or administrative complex, they cannot wear a headgear. No turban is allowed. Wearing a white color gown of, the priestly gown is not allowed. If we want to wear a bhagwa color cloth and, denote our religious inclination in public space, not allowed in France. And so are burqas, not allowed in France. But as far as India is concerned, the country itself, the constitution itself guarantees this freedom. In fact, the constitution makes it a liability on the state to protect the individual Indians' conscience and the right to profess their religion. Have a look at this part. It says very clearly, freedom of conscience and the right freely to profess, practice and propagate religion. It is a right that guarantees a negative liberty by which means the state shall ensure that there is no interference or obstacle to exercise of this freedom. So in case people want to exercise any freedom which is not against morality, not against international relations for the country, not against public peace, then they can go ahead with this. And the state shall ensure that there is no interference or obstacle to such exercise, right? However, public order, decency, morality, health and other state interests are also important. In this interest, the state shall take a balanced call. Right? So then when these kind of cases, this is not specific to one particular religion. They have been questioned at multiple grounds, multiple levels. For example, the Tandav dance done in public. This has been questioned. Should it be done in open spaces by a particular community or not? Right? Then having beard in the armed forces. So this has been questioned because it is a sign of uniformity. Right, the clean shaven look is a sign of uniformity in the armed forces, and this is the reason that each of them, despite of they coming from different backgrounds, they wear the same clothing. The dressing is same, and head to toe everything is similar for them, uniformity. So the Supreme Court and the other courts, they have given judgments on this, and we will go by those judgments. So the court says this: the test to determine what is integral is determined by the essential religious practices. The country, the polity, the constitution will support that particular practice that we do, provided the religion, provided it is essential to that religious practice. So, is wearing hijab an essential religious practice? Yes, it has been mentioned that it is an essential religious practice, right? So, judicial determination of religious practice will be done. Is wearing hijab right or wrong according to the religion? Is wearing the cross symbol by a Christian right or wrong? Or is putting a tika, a tilak here by a Hindu, is it right or wrong? So these practices have to be studied and mapped according to religion, which has been done to a certain extent, right? And then so this is one side of it. On the other side, there is a contention from the opposing side saying, if it is hampering the public order or morality hampering, then let us do away with these kind of practices, even if religion is promoting it, or even if it is essential to religious practices. If the public order says that it should not be done, if it is creating ruckus in society, social movement, let us do away with these practices. So this is the opposition. On the other hand, the counter question raised is, if this kind of opposition exists only in educational institutions, or it is in public space also, because what you are actually opposing is my right to education. If the exams to be held in next 2 months, then why am I not being allowed in my educational institution? The students, the same students who are friends, now they are not treating each other, watching each other's back and even seeing each other eye to eye. This is only because of the extreme levels of the religious aggression that people have, right? So this is not the first time that the court has given an order like this. Earlier, Anand Marg, this is one of the sects. It had no fundamental right to perform Tandav dance in public streets because it was not a religious practice of the sect. So Tandav dance in public streets, it was disallowed. Also, beard in armed forces, disallowed during the times it was delivered as a judgment, right? On the similar lines, the court has also examined the cases of wearing the burqas or hijabs previously. So CBSE keeps giving notifications on what kind of dressing to be done, especially during examinations, because people could cheat, no? People could cheat by wearing a headgear and then it is not scrutinized well. The examinations I was a part of, and belts, shoes, they were not allowed. So this is a part of the conduction of the examination. In this case, the board will respect the individual autonomy. They will scrutinize, they will check, they will do the frisking, and then the person will be allowed to wear these entities, right? So checking will be done. A middle path was taken, but right now the kind of ruckus that is happening in Karnataka, so this is not good. This is not good for the country. So when you see Article 19 has been violated, freedom of the individual to wear what kind of clothes they want to wear. Article 25 has been violated, freedom of individual to practice religion. This is a negative liberty and positive liberty. These are two concepts of liberty. Positive liberty is the liberty for a person to do something. I can go anywhere in the country and practice any profession, positive liberty. Negative liberty is the concept where the state will protect my autonomy over doing something, right? So this is a liability, this is an asset, right? This is a liability on the state, this is an asset for me. Both of them are asset for myself overall. So this is violating Article 25 as well, right? The person liberty. And what about the right to education? See, the prime question is it actually helping the student gain that education or not? The question on Uniform Civil Code has not been raised here. This is only about a government order passed about what is the code of conduct. So right now the students have been requested that if dupatta is a part of the school curriculum, the dress code, wear the dupatta and put it as a headscarf of yourself so that you do not miss out on examinations. And meanwhile, all this issue will be sorted out. Now let us look at the quick understanding of the political issue behind this. See, this is the same place, the western part of Karnataka, where Mangaluru is also located, and it was known for one pub case, where there was, people rebelled because of the culture, right? People said that the pub culture is not part of our culture. Not only this, there have been cases of protection of religion, right? So increased cases of protection of religion. This is happening primarily because there are groups of people politically associated as well, and some of the groups here are some of the groups of people, they are prosperous, and because of this, one minority group is prosperous, the majority group is not so prosperous economically, because some of the groups have they have gone to Gulf countries, earned a lot of money, they have prosperity, the masses don't have prosperity. So there is a feeling in which the political groups are trying to exploit through issues like this. So this is what is in light, and this is what gives the votes, right? This is what gives the votes. Next year Karnataka will go through an election, and these kind of issues do not send a very good light for the whole state, for these people who are going to be the future of the nation, not only all of us. So whenever a question is asked to you people are more smart than others. The reason being that you people are more aware. Normal people working in different fields of their life, they might not be deeply aware of the situation, but you know the constitution, you know what the Supreme Court and the other courts have said, you know about what is the priority is the clothing here, or what is the disturbance that the clothing is causing, or the priority is education, right to freedom, the examples that we are setting for Article 25, Article 19, as simple as that. This was a complex question because there are prejudices, there are inbuilt prejudices within us, and they must not reflect. In fact, we must set our minds straight, because at the end, we have to look at the preamble. It says justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. Justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. So every action as a DC, as an SP, as a secretary, what are you going to recommend, or what are you going to instruct to your colleagues and juniors? Fraternity, liberty, justice, equality. Your conscience is the one which will speak for yourself. These are examples of incidences we can only speak of, but yes, people are going through this, and this is not in positive light for anybody. So this is the first snapshot, deeply discussed, right? So sir, isn't fundamental rights curbs in armed forces according to Article 33? So no beard in armed forces may be justified. Yes, Ashish, once you join the armed forces, or for that matter civil services also, you will have to follow the armed forces code. There is an army act, there's an army act, there's a navy act, and there's an air force act. Right? If you are a part of intelligence bureau, you will be following many acts of the home ministries. Similarly, if you are a part of the civil services, you will have to follow the civil services code, and there are a lot of things which will inhibit you from participation in public discourse. I've explained this previously. If you, by mistake, some of you here are preparing for judicial services also, I remember. So if you get into judiciary, you might have to as well participate the least in public discourse, public events, functions, ceremonies, least of it. Why? Because there could be a conflict of interest. Participation, talking to people, it could lead to hand in gloves. Hand in gloves means the kind of affairs which cause conflict of interest, corruption, bribery. So this is definitely required. My father was in armed forces, he was in the army, and these people are not even required to speak about what happened at their work. Leave apart explaining if it was right or wrong, right? And slowly and steadily, because as I grew up, I got to know, because we would be seeing a lot of things, seeing Prithvi missile ahead of me, in front of me, and so many things that the armed forces does. This is not to be brought in public light, right? So there is always another side of the story, and that must be brought to light to bring complete justice to a system. So yes, if you are a part of the civil services or military services, you will have curbed rights of freedom, rights of speech, curbed rights of equality. You will not be able to seek equality at par with others, but certainly you will have certain more duties, responsibilities. You will also have certain more rights with you, right? Some powers that you will be able to exercise so that you can help others, right? Some powers also you will get along with that, right? So Ravi says this shows that election season is going around by the country. All right. Ashutosh says school can do one thing: provide the changing room for girls with full security and privacy. If they're unable to put off, they came with attires and put off on changing rooms. All right. They again wear what's your opinion on this? My personal opinion wouldn't matter, Ashutosh. Point is wearing, how is the wearing of hijabs a question inside the school of morality, question of morality or public public disorder inside the school campus, and how is it not an issue of public disorder outside the school campus? In that case, it should be banned throughout. No, if the people are wearing by their own choice, it should be a matter of freedom, as simple as that. So so this is for basic understanding. Why did I not ask a question like this on the written text? Is because you might have started your own debates, prejudices. We will discuss on objective grounds only, on constitution, preamble, previous judgments, and what is right for the whole country as a whole, right? So this is the first one. Questions, please put them down. So this is what we have explained here in totality. See, freedom of conscience and right to profess, practice, and propagate religion. This is what the Indian Constitution guarantees. Wearing a hijab is essential religious practice prescribed in the Holy Quran. When the government itself said that what is essential religious practice, we will have to follow that, then, and it is part of the Holy Quran, then this order of the government is in contravention to the Constitution itself. When the constitutional order and the government order, and the Constitution and the government order are in contravention, which should proceed, which should be the first one to be followed, which should be the one which should be ideally looked at, right? So this is the complete breakdown of this particular case. Right now, you will get updates around this for times to come, maybe a week or so. News will be there, but then you will be able to put this whenever we speak of issues like use of public spaces for offering prayers. Being in news, absolutely in news. Yeah. So public space in Gurgaon, right, being offered for namaz, right, all those things. So this is where we will start questioning all the other practices as well, right? Why this is not applicable only for a particular institution, a particular community. This should be applicable for all of them in equality. For example, if we hold jagarans at night in public parks, right, there should be question on this. But then you should also look at the basic structure of the constitution, or how the constitution guarantees right to freedom of religion. Are we changing it completely altogether? The government has to aid the personal practice of religion. No, Article 25. So 25 to 28. So in that case, government should aid both of them. All right. Essential religious practices doctrine. This is the key word here. Integral to the religion. All right. Okay. Asim, so don't you think this is affecting economy? Asim, good evening to you. Welcome back. Of course, it is affecting the economy of the country. It is affecting the prestige of the country overall. But this is, you know, I had read somewhere, this has been said by a very, very famous person, I think the president of USA during times of World War II. He said that, he said a very, very important thing. He said, we do not get a better form of the government than what we deserve. So, not only the government, the opposition, the polity, the people in general, everybody has to be held accountable. Everybody has to be held responsible. In fact, there are times when I tend to think whether giving right to vote as a fundament, as a right to each person, individual who is grown up, was as good as not during those times. Because it is only during those times that we developed a different meaning for political equality and economic equality. We do not have economic equality, yet we follow political equality. And through this, we are not able to vote for the right people. This is not making the government strong and, not people aware, not making people aware. The opposition is not effective. The people themselves are not aware of what are the fundamental issues to look at, right? If the people were powerful enough to look at the fundamental issues, then we wouldn't be dealing with these kind of questions, right? If the ruckus is being created by two, three groups of students and political parties are not associated, it is not possible. I have explained you the situation of Udupi, the place where there is economic disparity. So yes, economic ramifications are there. This is the reason that India lags at various places, right? The international perception of education in India, these are the indicators, right? So when we have the New York Times writing on this, or Washington Post, or newspapers in UK writing about this, you should look at how they would view a thing like this, right? Okay. So the main point is, look at the constitution. That's what I want to say. My personal opinion should not matter. Look at the constitution, look at the preamble, look at the judgments of courts, right? This is what I will say, and we will follow them fundamentally. All right, not get divided on this. All right, moving on to the second snapshot, that is on regulation of internet content. See, the government has been regulating content at various levels, especially for media regulations. Now, there are certain lacunae. We do not have certain laws which are objectively defined, and that is why the government has to control in indirect manner, right? So we will see the example here. There is print media, there is digital media, and then there are OTT players also, right? Now, in case they are publishing some content which is not for public morality, decency, and not for the certain age, then the government issues orders, right? We also have another body, CBFC, Central Board of Film Certification. Now, you might think that this body is the one which should be, which is regulating what should be shown on, in movies and what should not be. Primarily, their ask is, they are Central Board of Film Certification. They give certifications. If this movie is adult rated or visible to everybody, UA, whatever it is, they give this rating. It is only recommendatory if they want certain clips to be cut. That's it. but they might even hold this certification of the films in certain cases, which ideally they are not empowered to do, but they do it. See, similarly, when OTTs were given, further segregation for classifying their videos, they opposed it. Why? Because if the classification right now was at 2 levels, maybe I think it was 18 years and I think 10 years or so, something. They were further given classification levels of the age 13, 7, something like this, 4 or 5 classifications. Now it is very tough to determine what is there for age 13 and what is there for age 10, right? There might be objections under the law, under the IT Act, and psychologists may not be able to tell it, but since there is objection, the content will not get released. So this causes issues to the media partners. This causes issues to the people who are producing and financing the movie. They oppose this on the pretext of increased regulations, not making it simple. So point is, there are various ways used by the government to control media. Now this is where the recommendation is here. Print media, we have PTI, Press Trust of India, self-regulating, the first tier of regulation, which second tier. So this is a very good level of regulation. This is what should happen to digital media companies also and OTTs as well. But right now, that is the reason they are called as OTT, over the top, right? So recently the government barred the transmission of Malayalam news channels citing security reasons. All right. So what happens is that when the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, they receive some message through intelligence networks, through their own web channels, right? They look at the particular release, they scrutinize it, and if they find that this is not all right, then they issue a warning or they ask the content to be removed. They even sometimes penalize the digital media companies, right? Some of them have been asked to stop display of the content for a day, for a week, for 5 days. And on the other hand, this, not only this, their rights, their digital rights can also be taken, right? So for example, there are times when their rights are taken away from them, right? So their right of transmitting and receiving signals from the satellites, that is taken away from them. This is also happening, right? So yes, sometimes excessive regulation, and sometimes, see, the condition was only one: violation of Article 19(1). Violation of Article 19(1). So if reasonable restrictions are not followed by the online media company, the government can barge in, and this is where the subjectivity lies. Objectivity is less here, right? So this is the problem here. There is also a new mechanism in the Information and Broadcasting Ministry which has adopted. It has used emergency powers it has under new IT rules to block certain YouTube channels and social media post accounts based on inputs from intelligence agencies. Under emergency powers, it can do that. There are times where there was complaint against organizations online as well. If you do not show the map of India, right, in the proper light, in the proper way it is, and if you cut this part of the crown, then there's a complaint against the organization, and then this can definitely be treated as, it could be treated as violation of reasonable restrictions. So one has to take care of this, right? So example of CBFC. It isn't the CBFC's mandate to censor a film. It can withhold giving a rating unless the filmmaker agrees to its suggestions, right? The 3-tier grievance redressal structure, right? Remember, we had spoken about it. That is the one that must be looked at, right? So this is the second one. Just look at the fact that the government can regulate only on the grounds of Article 19(1), reasonable restrictions. All right. Age 7, 13, 16. Thank you, Kriti. Ravi says, very concerning that young minds are indulging in activities because of lack of awareness rather than developing scientific temperament. All right, part of the process. Yin Yang says, so don't you feel that Muslim communities targeted unnecessarily, mostly because of political reasons? I don't feel so. My opinion doesn't count at all. Yin Yang. Like recently, only in Andhra Pradesh. Don't worry about this, Yin. If you are preparing for civil service examination, don't worry about this. You should look at the pre-exam first. You should look at main exam. You should look at how to handle these tricky questions. Why get into this political ruckus? We have discussed about this, and many of us have actually fallen in trap. There are times when we fell in trap. Some of us fell in trap during the day, the same day when the issue of the increasing of age from marriage from 18 to 21 was contended. There were people discussing on this. So these kind of questions might never be asked. They have not been asked in UPSC examination, and they will never be asked. I can assure you this. In UPSC they won't be asked. Don't you worry on this. And for awareness sake, you must know, and that is the reason that I told you what is happening in Udupi. I told you about the issue of economic disparity. So you must know the background as well. Why is this kind of difference between the people here? Why are people getting easily agitated here? Governance, right? Growth. It's not being met, and therefore people are going against each other. Simple. It had happened in Assam also. When there were riots in the lower Assam, it was because of some prosperous community and some people who were not prosperous, and it was given the shape of religious incidents, but it was not so. So speaking on the religious grounds, is it that important right now? I am actually diverting your attention. It might be important, but I am diverting your attention towards preparation of examination. Otherwise, it will disturb our minds, right? So Kriti, thank you. Nitish said something, he retracted. Ravi says IT rules 2021. Yes. So we have discussed this IT rules, Ravi. We have discussed this quite a few times. There are 3 parts of it. All right. The snapshot 3 is on Vande Bharat trains, right? So this is the new set of trains that have been launched by the government. Top speed 160 km/h, right? Some of these fastest trains running from New Delhi to Varanasi, stoppages Kanpur and Prayagraj. In 8 hours, they will be covering this complete distance. This is one set of new trains that are being launched. Government has also promised innumerable these trains, planning to run 75 Vande Bharat trains across India by 2023, right? Now, these were originally called as Train 18. The primary difference between these trains and the regular trains is the distributed power network. While earlier trains had an engine and then the bogies or the coaches attached to them with passengers or goods, passengers for the passenger train, this train won't have an engine bogie. It will have a distributive traction power network. It will have electricity connected over the individual coaches as well. And this is going to ensure that power is delivered optimally and efficiently to the train coaches, right? The whole traction, the track network, it will also be upgraded alongside, so that the trains are able to run at a top speed, at a faster pace. This will also decrease the turnaround time of the trains. The time it takes for them to travel from Delhi to Varanasi, the fastest train right now, I think that was Shiv Ganga Express, that would take 12 hours. Fastest train. Sham mein 7 baje baitho, you reach Varanasi in the morning at around 6:30, right? But then these trains are taking 8 hours. So that is the reason they will be called as semi-high speed, self-propelled trains and semi-high speed trains, originally called as Train 18. Government has said we will increase these kind of rakes, formation of these rakes. How? So one is these kind of distributed power network. The other one is the body. The frame of the body was created through steel earlier, and now they will start using aluminium. Aluminium is lighter. If it is lighter, it will use lesser energy. The transmission will be faster. And if the body is lighter, it will be able to carry, it will be able to accelerate and decelerate also faster. This gives the train more efficiency, right? So that is why news, see, it says it will be able to cover more trips, thereby carrying more people, reduces journey time by 25 to 45%. Great, good effort. Aluminium will be used, all right. So making the article simpler for you, right? Yes, Ashutosh, just similar to the metros, absolutely. Okay, moving ahead to this day in history dedicated to British control over Calcutta. This is the year 1757 that we are talking of. It was a very interesting side of history where repeated wars were fought around Calcutta in 1756 and up to 1757, right? And quite a few wars we had. If you have heard of Mir Zafar, Mir Qasim, Siraj-ud-Daulah, all were active during these times, and eventually the power was transferred back to Britishers here, right? So February 9, today itself, 1757. This served as the prelude to the seizure of Bengal, Treaty of Aligarh. This was the Treaty of Aligarh. All right. So intuition, if it serves to you, go back to the times when the Britishers came to India and the whole politics around Bengal. 1757. Today's feature news on digital currency. We will understand what is the difference between a digital currency, central bank digital currency, CBDC, cryptocurrency, and then we have fiat currency, and we do have other kind of currencies, right? Virtual currencies and all. We will understand the difference between all of them. We will understand what is the difference between each of them, what is the cause of concern to the government, how are they mined, and what happens to these kind of currencies, issues, and way forward as well. In the feature news, interesting news today. Image of the day on Lata Mangeshkar. The lady passed away a couple of days back, called as, somebody said, the Nightingale, but yes, absolutely pointed, not the Nightingale of India, but yes, she was also called as Kokila, Swar Kokila, no? I don't know if you have mentioned it here. Kokila is, what is the bird Kokila in English? All right. And yeah, she has sung over 30,000 songs. In fact, I think she also holds the record of singing in the maximum number of languages. I don't remember for sure, but yes, she has that record to my best understanding. She also received Dada Saheb Phalke Award, Bharat Ratna, Padma Vibhushan. You can well imagine what is the kind of stature that she carries around. All right, Lata Mangeshkar, right? She has got, if you don't know or if you know, she's got a couple of sisters as well, and both of them singers, Usha and Asha. Usha, Asha, and Lata from Madhya Pradesh. All right, aluminum contributes to 2% of GDP. All right, Pooja, blockchain technology. Yes, we will understand blockchain technology. Sarojini Naidu is, yeah, 36 languages, Ashutosh. Thank you. Cuckoo. Okay, thank you. What else? Terms and concepts. Port connectivity roads. See, this was a part of the parliamentary standing committee which said that the construction of port connectivity roads has not happened at par with the development of Bharatmala, not at par with the development of Sagarmala. See, when Sagarmala is the one which is developing the port networks, the networks of port, the port-led ecosystem development of the country. If there are 12, 13 major ports in the country, right? Two of them here, one in Chennai, one in Ennore, and then, we have port at Goa, we have port in Visakhapatnam, so many other ports, all of them. The whole ecosystem of development of port region is happening. The ecosystem of development of Bharatmala is happening, right? So Bharatmala connecting the road network, right? Not only the north-south, east-west corridor, but golden quadrilateral and innumerable networks within them. But if we are not able to integrate the road connections with the marine ecosystem connections, then the complete integration of the logistics or the economy related to movement of goods is not happening. It's not happening here. This is what has been highlighted by the Parliamentary Standing Committee. Port connectivity roads, also called as the port approach roads. If we are not creating them, then this is the cause of concern. See, government has the mandate of building these kind of roads, but Parliamentary Standing Committee is the one which scrutinizes if it was done or not. So job well done, yes. They are the one who have to scrutinize here, and this is what they have done, right? Their news is in the news available in the public domain. Today also there was another news that the Parliamentary Standing Committee says that MNREGS work should be guaranteed not for 100 but 150 days. It scrutinized the report saying that the fundings in MNREGS have reduced. If a question like this comes to you, what will you look at? How do you answer it? So when they ask discuss, then you will discuss both sides of it. You will say the reason for decreasing of the funds was so and so, agile approach, barbell strategy, safety nets. Having said that, the issues of the discussion will be that this is loss of immediate livelihood to people, vulnerable sections, right? Losing of jobs, and if there is no safety net when they come back to their rural, country. And the another part of that parliamentary committee report also mentioned that people who are agricultural laborers, their job also should be treated, under MNREGS, right? Okay, so port connectivity roads. yeah, on the other hand, when the question is about elaborate that particular point, the answer perspective will change. You will only speak about the facts about that particular issue, right? On the other hand, if critically analyze, so then the perspective to the same dimensions will change, right? Facts will remain same. You must know all the sides so that you are able to represent that particular side in the answer. Port connectivity roads, right? So this is why in news it says very clearly only 168 kilometers of the port connectivity road have been awarded, while rest 2,100 kilometers are in various stages of DPR. Detailed project report means no work on ground, only file moving from one place to another. So this is the complete summary of whatever I shared. All right. Government has also said we'll create 25,000 kilometers more of roads, right? But if we don't have the port connectivity roads, then it is of no use for logistics movement, because you know what I'm saying, right? Because eventually when the the container moves at the coast and it is unloaded here, the containers are unloaded, they are not only able to move to the places where there are trucks standing, right? There's no road to connect them. This is the point that I'm making. So these are the kind of scrutinizing things that you can mention as examples, and not your own example. Parliamentary Standing Committee says this. All right. Moving ahead, 100th year of Chauri Chaura event. 100th year. So again, important, could be a pre-question, right? Something related to Chauri Chaura. So this was the incident which was marked with violence during non-cooperation movement, NCM. Non-cooperation movement, and before this we had the Swadeshi and boycott movement, and after this we had the civil disobedience movement, and then we had Quit India movement. I've explained this previously. Something of this sort did come in the pre-exam this time. Oh yes, Quit India movement came in the examination, right? 1942 and 2022. So this is 80 years of Quit India movement. Well, imagine 100 years should also be a part of it. So the point I'm making here is that this was boycott movement, Swadeshi. So requests to not use the products bought from outside, but start using our own products, right? Gandhiji's Charkha example. But Gandhiji was not here in 1905. Do remember that. After that, non-cooperation movement, we will not cooperate, right? We will not cooperate with the Britishers, but we will not also disobey. The gravity of issues in NCM and CDM was different. This is civil disobedience. We will not obey the orders of the government. And the first one was we will not cooperate. So the gravity of issues was very different in NCM and CDM. This was more grave. And look at Quit India, right? Do or die. So the gravity of issues, it went only upwards from 1905 to 1920 to 1930 to 1942. That's the analysis of this. And what happened in Chauri Chaura was that in Uttar Pradesh, the whole police station was burnt because some police had conducted some atrocities on locals, because the locals were making fun of the imported, mocking foreign clothes, meat, liquor. Police had conducted some atrocities, and because of this, people burned the whole police station. Quite a few policemen died inside it, and Gandhiji was not happy. So non-cooperation movement was withdrawn. Gandhiji also follows the principle of struggle, truce, struggle. Also, during the times of truce, Gandhiji goes into the mode where he helps people. What are the three groups? Women, Dalits, and the third one. All right. So this is a quick update from there. Community forests. Why were they in news? They were in news because in Assam, there is a forest called as the Kajoijana Bamuni Hill. Right. This region. So earlier this region was treated as forest, but the government says that we will start treating this as a wildlife sanctuary, a protected region. And the local people living here, they are not happy with it. They say, let us treat it as a conventional forest. We'll try to protect it better with time, right? So villagers demand that the conventional wildlife sanctuary idea, this should be dropped. It should be only led by the community forest. Why? Because there are forest products, there are forest reserves that these people use, and there'll be more, reservations on the use of these items. Now, something to note here is the presence of golden langurs here. Golden langurs are found only in on specific parts. They are endemic to this place, only in Assam and Bhutan, and part of Schedule 1. Schedule 1, the highest level of protection offered by the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Golden langurs here. So this is why trying to preserve them, and it is listed among the world's 25 most endangered primates, golden langurs. So even golden langurs could be asked as a question. This was asked as a question, you know, something similar was asked as a question in the year, I think 2012 or 13, where all they asked was these kind of langurs or primates, they exist at which part of the country? It was eastern and then southern. So though, as simple as that. Golden langurs endemic to this region only. The reason why there are more environment questions in the pre-exam is because Indian Forest Service exam and the Indian Civil Service examination, both of them are conducted together, no? Forest Service and the Civil Service examination are conducted together. So some to ensure that this exam is inclusive to people preparing for Forest Service, questions from environment also takes some lead. PARAKH portal, PARAKH, Jaanch PARAKH, that is the word here. So PARAKH is testing and certification. Now this portal has been developed to map all the agencies which are into testing in India, all the testing agencies. So if you look at the schematic of India, the PARAKH portal, what it does is that it maps all the places which are going to map, which are going to conduct the testing and certification in India, all the kind of certification and testing. So many OEMs, original equipment manufacturers of electronics, of automobiles, they import products, right? They import products from outside, they assemble it at times in the country. Now, if the government is ensuring that there is make in India, defense, supplies, electronics, automobiles, make in India, so their certification also has to be done. They have to be awarded some certification in case they are above the threshold. So all these have to be, done in India, and it has to be mapped. So PARAKH portal is the one which is mapping all of them. So good effort. All right. FSSAI, right? CSIR, so many of them. This is it. 3 editorials, each of them interesting one. The first one is the reordering of Europe. I wish I could show you a map of Europe here. Europe map. All right. See, this is the advantage of good technology. Here it is. So the editorial points out at the reordering in Europe. A very interesting and beautiful article pointing of the 3 times when reordering of Europe happened after the Second World War. The first reordering was the time when United Nations was created, right? 1945. And this is the time when the borders of the countries were created, and the countries were said, you are sovereign and you are self-governing. Nobody will be impeding on your own rights. You will be supreme internally and independent externally. Countries like Germany, which faced the defeat in Second World War, they were also given rights over here, right? All the countries were given rights. This is an old map. Let me look at the new map. All right. Okay, let's try and accept this as the map of Europe, right? Almost what it is. So this was the first level of demarcation of the boundaries. First demarcation after the independence of the countries after First World War. Now, during this time and post this time, there was a cold war between both the kind of parts, right? The leftist and the rightist, and this led to creation of another level of boundaries. But this was not the second level of reordering of Europe, right? So Germany, right, passing through Berlin was the Berlin Wall, the west of it and the east of it. 4 governing powers, major of them would be USA and USSR. So the idea was that east of those parts would be governed and governed and covered by USSR, and west of it would be by USA, France, UK, all of them allied powers, right? Height of Cold War. This was the first level of demarcation only. The second level of demarcation or reordering of the geopolitics happened, and mind you, this was the first level. The second level happened during the times of 1989 and up to 1991. 1991 was the year when breakdown of USSR happened, and 1989 was the time when the Berlin Wall was brought down. When the Berlin Wall was brought down, it was mentioned very clearly that USA will not exceed these boundaries and try to cover the other countries under NATO. it was accepted by USA. They said, all right, we will not expand NATO here. So earlier NATO had less than 20 members. And now NATO has well more than 25 members, around 30 members it has got. How did they join? They joined from these countries only, no? Poland, other smaller countries here, Croatia, Austria, Greece, Turkey, all of them joined later. They were not a part of the NATO earlier. They joined later, and this is what irked Russia. This was the second level of reordering of Europe. This happened, Russia alleges that this happened because Russia was weak that time. It got disintegrated into 15 countries, one of them being Russia itself, and other smaller parts, they started to join NATO. Russia was not happy. And now Mr. Putin, the premier of Russia, the president of Russia, he says that we are going to take it back. We are going to enforce a third level of reordering of the map of Europe. See, so I have explained in one of the editorials previously that they tend to call Belarus and Ukraine as part of Russia only. They say one of them are white Russians, or other one are small Russians, small in height Russians only. And this is one of the reasons that they also encroached upon some space in Georgia. They also encroached upon some space in as a part of Ukraine, Crimean Peninsula, right? Georgia, Crimean Peninsula. So these have been very well integrated, ways in which government of Russia is trying to increase its presence, right? So you know that concept, no? The concept in which we are trying to create a cushion, a boundary wall, a front, so that a frontal cushion for themselves. This is what it is, right? A bulwark, right? Just like we have a bulwark in the form of coastal forest, coastal trees, the wetlands. This is the bulwark for Russia. This is the third reordering that Russia is trying to force. Now, although it did seek of help of China and other countries in the nearby region, Belarus, etc., but indirectly Russia has also integrated NATO better than before. NATO was also disintegrating. It has integrated them better than before with USA. So this is the quick update, reordering of Europe. Right? Putin's forcing a third reordering of Europe. All right. So the key word here is arm twisting. See, it says presently none of the stakeholders, USA, Europe and Russia want a conflict. However, this arm twisting could lead to third reordering of Europe in favor of Russia, right? None of the stakeholders want. The editorial itself explains that USA wouldn't want a war. Europe will also not want a war. UK, France, Germany, the premier of Germany himself has to establish himself well. France, Emmanuel Macron, dangers of getting re-elected again. UK, the premier is again under some or the other trouble, right? So Partygate crash, that was the trouble under which Boris Johnson is. USA doesn't want to fight right now, use its resources. Russia already cash strapped. So this is the issue with these three countries, three places. They don't want a war. The second one is opinion polls and regulations. See, whenever an election is conducted, there are opinion polls and there is exit polls. Exit polls and opinion polls. Before the election is conducted, there is an informal opinion and it is surveyed amongst people. What is the opinion? Who will win? And then it is put on the news also. And whenever after the election, there is an exit poll also. Exit polls which tells this is what we think, this is how people have already voted. Now these are informal level of analysis, polls conducted amongst people, and this is how the news comes out in the open. Quite often than not, these could be paid media. There was some kind of investigation conducted, right? And they also said that this is very much possible that this is paid media. Sting operations were conducted in 2013-14 for this. So there's a very beautiful story behind this. Election Commission of India said we would like this to be banned, and what is your opinion, political parties and governments? So they said that we would like to discuss in the parliament, and what they did was they eventually banned exit polls. They did not ban opinion polls. Who was against it? Some parties, specific parties were against it, and the media was completely against it. Why would media be against banning of opinion polls? Is because when they release opinion polls, this is the prime time viewership, and prime time viewership means they get more ad revenues. And this is why media said there are issues in opinion polls, we need to work at it, but please do not ban it, right? This was not banned, and the exit poll was banned. Even when exit poll was banned, exit poll is still revealed by many news media agencies, still revealed after the elections, last election is held, right? So Election Commission is also not put a curb on the exit polls, saying that this is the part of law. See, whenever Election Commission proposes that there should be banning of opinion or exit polls, Election Commission does not have a set of rules for itself. Yes, it can work for a specific time, but if it has the backing of law, it will be able to work more effectively. So every time political parties say please ban opinion polls, they all of them want to ban, in theory, the opinion polls, specifically those parties which are not the ruling parties, because the party in power is the one which is dominating the scene and opinions generally go in their favor. But then largely Election Commission, when they request that you should talk about it or you should bring it up in the parliament, the issues are not discussed properly. Even if it is discussed, half of it is passed and then again not followed by the media, right? So this is what it is in news. Now looking at data, the new oil. So opinion poll also is about data, but if the sample size, methodology, time frame in which data was taken, or people who had taken data, what is their level of training, research staff training, if this is scrutinized well, then we could understand what is the legitimacy of the opinion polls or exit polls. There are many countries in Europe, advanced nations, which have banned opinion exit polls 2 to 21 days before the election date itself. This is the update from here. Step up of agricultural spending and boosting farmer income. Beautiful editorial. This editorial talks about the fact that India's agriculture did fairly well during the time of last 2 years. It grew at a constant 3 to 4% pace. It was not impacted due to the effect of the pandemic the last 2 years. But still, if you see the kind of investment by the government, this is a heart-wrenching situation. This is not a good situation. The inflation rate in the country, CPI, is 5 to 6%, right? Consumer inflation. On the other hand, the government increase in the participation in revenues here is 4%. See, so how is it possible? All right, it is not mentioned here, but see, increased allocation is there, but it is hardly 4%. But the rate of inflation is 5 to 6%. So allocation, in fact, falls way below the real prices in the market. This is one point that has been mentioned. India is the country, it was also mentioned, which has got India is among the 10 top countries which has maximum allocation for agriculture. Look at these stats. 10 countries with maximum allocation for agriculture. But if you look at the percentage of allocation in Indian agriculture of GDP, this is far less than the mid-level countries also, lower income countries also. Countries in Africa, countries in Asia, they are doing far better than what India is doing, because the percentage of allocation by the government is less. This is where the article brings to light an important indicator, right? That indicator is called as AOI. Agriculture Outlook Indicator, right? Agricultural Orientation Index. Yes, Agricultural Orientation Index, AOI. So this is the ratio of the government spending in agriculture to the ratio to what government spending in agriculture to the proportion of agricultural participation in the economy. So this is 18 here, 18%, and the government spending here, this is the proportion here. Now this proportion is very, very poor for India. This is very good for countries like China. This is excellent in case of even middle or low income countries. Beautiful editorial this says. The same thing says. And this is also reflected in the output. So the complete agricultural output is not as good as countries like China. See, China has got per person land availability is lesser than what it is in India. But still their performance in agriculture is far better because of the state support. And in India is not providing these kind of support to agriculture. India is looking at infrastructure development in urban areas, trying to connect the rural areas. So this is where rural infrastructure is important. This is where rural transportation is important, right? Creation of the logistics for rural areas is important. But what is also important is to directly fund agriculture. This is where we are lagging behind. The editorial clearly points out at Agricultural Orientation Index, which is not very good in our country. All right. It also speaks of a specific point that India is an agriculture dominant country, no? So why are we not focusing on agriculture more when almost 50% people are employed here? Valid point. So good criticism here of the budget allocations. See, this is what provides depth. Earlier we understood the facts of depth, some analysis of the how the budget, what was the essence and significance of the budget. Now we are looking at the sectoral wise allocations. All right. If you like this effort, you want to share some love through likes, comments and shares, right? You subscribe to the channel. Some of you, you'll receive timely updates for these kind of videos. And yes, something beautiful has happened. We have touched 100,000 subscribers. How many zeros have I added? Have I added a sufficient number of zeros? Yeah. So we have become 1 lakh family on YouTube, and this is a very pleasing effort from your end, your regular participation. This is what has ensured that we keep growing all the time. So thank you for your participation. Nitra says agricultural orientation index. Yes. Buffer zone. Thank you for the word. Hi, lost soul. Welcome. Women, Dalit and farmers. No. Women, Dalit and somebody else. Can you point out which are the communities which Gandhi ji would help during the times of peace, right? So he would work for 3 primary communities. What were those communities? Kriti, the word is multimodal transportation. Yes, thank you. Hima says, Bharat Ko Kila is Sarojini Naidu, given by Mahatma Gandhi. All right. Now I will also need to research. Thank you for pointing this, Hima. Case study of the day is on a young girl. She is a scuba diver, just like her father is, and she wants to create a change in the world, specifically India, by ensuring that the plastic pollution does not impact the marine ecosystem as much. She's from Chennai and just 8 years of age, and look at the kind of resolution she has. So it's not, what I learned from this, that it's not the size of the fighter that matters, it's the size of the fight in the fighter that matters, is it not? So a beautiful one by this young girl. Marine plastic pollution has been very much in news. I've been seeing this in news for the last 2-3 years specifically. This is a part of United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda as well. If you go to United Nations EP, United Nations Environment Program reports, they have created enormous level of reporting on the website itself, giving very, very good data. We have covered this. We have covered marine plastic pollution earlier, the marine pollution and plastic pollution also separately, because they have been important. If you want, I can definitely bring it back to you. We covered this in the month of July or August. We'll bring it back if you say so. But the point is that marine plastic pollution is important. Just few days back, we studied the person from Africa who was working towards eliminating plastic pollution in Africa. And this is a girl from India. So great effort, the size of the fighter. She is also working towards the conservation of dugong, sea cow. This is the state animal for Andaman Nicobar, right? Also a species which is protected. All right. So we will quickly move to the feature news for today, which is on digital currencies. If you like this effort, there are questions, please go ahead, ask them. Ravi, thank you very much for wishing me. It's your participation that has led to this. Pooja says, bourgeois. What about bourgeois class? What brings you to say that word, bourgeois and proletariat? I don't know. Nothing here. Opinion polls, no. Okay, let us know, Pooja, why have you said bourgeois class here? So we will quickly meet you all in the other video. There are questions, there are doubts, please post them. You're free to post a comment if you like this video, and we will see you in the feature news. Thank you.